Here's another one that falls under our Big Seven category, which TARTLE data champions can actually donate their earnings towards advocacy groups and nonprofit charitable organizations that support these causes. And we want to focus today on government and corporate transparency. And so there's a great article here that came out. Well, not that the article is great, but what happened in it is great, right? Minnesota Supreme Court hands government transparency advocates major victory.
Major is the key word.
Yeah. So, and again, one of our Big Seven, number 6 is government and corporate transparency. And something really special happened here with data, public information, right?
Yeah, and it allows it's easier for the public, which is we the people,
We the people.
to sue state and local governments for failing to maintain and turn over public information.
Yeah.
So what is public information in this new world?
Yeah. So if the government has servers on you, local authorities, if they have servers and it's storing any sort of information that is about you, that's public, right? That server then has to have public access to it. They're a public authority, right? Put in place by the people. We, the people, chose to have this authority here to maintain these things. That means that those authorities need to be transparent with that data.
Yes.
And what they weren't doing is being transparent with that data, how they use that data. If you're a public authority, that has to be shared. It's not for you to hide, manipulate, and do whatever you want and not give people their information that they have a right to. Correct?
Yeah, and this is what I love the attorney for the plaintiff. It says, and we'll get into the plaintiff a little bit. It says it lowers the barrier for ordinary Minnesotans to litigate and enforce their rights under the Data Practices Act.
Yeah. So it's like, how are you using that data? I want to see my data on your systems. Like, I want to be able to go into the DMV and grab all my information. I want to be able to go into the voter registration, take all my information. I want to see what that access is, right? I want to, if any of my data has been shared publicly on some sort of healthcare exchange, I want that information. I want it all.
Because, worst case scenario, and this is why it's so important.
Why do I have to pay?
Right.
Ready for this? If I want to do a background check or see if somebody's been arrested, why do I have to pay the police department?
Yeah.
That's public information.
Well, how we're seeing data and the cost of data, what would prevent these municipalities from selling data to third party to, it's like
Correct.
another tax.
Yeah, for them, this is great. We can make some money. Court documents? Why do I have to pay so much to buy a court document?
Yes.
That's insane. It's public information.
Yes.
If it happened in the court of law, that's public.
Yeah, why
Is it
can't
not?
it be on the blockchain decentralized for everyone?
Yeah, why does the court have to decide whether or not it gets handed to you? And by the way, you got to pay a boatload of cash to receive these documents.
Yeah, and only the newspaper puts it in.
Yeah, like, get out of here. What a joke. And the ability for the individuals, Minnesotans, to actually, essentially litigate and enforce, so sue the local government, that is then forces that local government to be like, hey, I don't want to get lawsuits all day long. We need to just open this up and make sure that the public gets access to things that are rightfully theirs.
Yeah, and it was Tyler Halva. He was the one that brought this up, a software engineer. And there was proposals. So this is really important because we have a lot of corruption when it becomes, and we see this in every city. I'll pat your back if you pat my back, city council and stuff like that. So he had a proposal in 2015 to develop a new online registration system. But, he submitted his information on this proposal to say, hey, I'm a software engineer, here I am. And he was passed over for another developer. After submitting 5 separate data requests, Halva also requested documents from Minnesota State that explain their decision to reject his proposal in favor of another. Minnesota State eventually produced some documents evaluating Halva's proposal after he filed a complaint with the state's Office of Administrative Hearings.
Why do people have to complain first?
I know.
Why do you have to ask 1,000 times before someone hands over something they needed to hand over in the first place?
But they did not even take the time to save a copy of his proposal that they had highlighted. If it was on the blockchain and timestamped, how easy would this have been?
Precisely correct.
Yeah, and so at the heart of Halva's case is whether individual citizens may sue for data that doesn't exist under the Data Practice Act, which is typically cited in requesting public data that does exist.
Yeah, data should exist. But the
Yes.
thing is, they omit it, delete it, all these other things. But guess what? That's the public's data. That is not for you to decide whether or not it should be deleted.
Yeah, who gets to make that decision? And that's the heart of this. Is it allows people to challenge the absence of data.
Yeah, stop just getting rid of things that's frankly not yours.
Yes.
It's not yours. You don't own it. None of it's yours. If there's a court case, you know who essentially owns that court case? The people that were in the court case.
Yes. See, this is the problem with government.
Oh, gosh.
This is why we push so heavily, number 6, on government transparency, because they feel they know and have the right to do whatever they want with these little cogs, which is us as the people.
Yeah.
And we're tired of it.
We put them in place.
Yes.
They do not put us in place. That is our data, not for them to manipulate, delete, omit, get rid of, and not share with us when we request it.
Because why not? Why would it not incentivize the government to get rid of documents?
Yeah, I know. They're like, we need to get rid of it. Think about the FBI, CIA, all those other people. Burn the documents.
And what if Facebook all of a sudden decide to say, well, we made these certain practices that were kind of shady.
Yeah.
So let's just get rid of all this data.
It never happened.
And then it never happened. And then it comes out and finds out. How big would that be on the media?
That's exactly right.
It would be a huge shitstorm.
Talk about covering tracks, but it's just not your data to manipulate. It's not yours.
Yeah.
And if you're restricting access or deleting things without letting the person know who's involved with that data, who is actually the progenitor of that data, that's a problem.
Well, it's like the Hennepin, I think I'm pronouncing that right, hopefully, County Sheriff's Office. They got criticism on this too because they were deleting emails 30 days after they got them. So
archive that stuff, put in cold storage.
It has to be archived, because if somebody, what happens if a lot of people communicate an email and the email is timestamped?
You bet it is.
So when you're deleting them after 30 days, there's no record of anything.
Like, what are you talking about?
What if that detective emailed another detective for a case? Where did that email go?
Correct. And what if there's, what if there's questionable morals or something that's happening, ethical practice, and be like, delete that. I don't want people to know what was said. But it's like, wait, hold on. This is all public stuff. If you're in a position for the public service, we would hope that these people take on the highest ethical and moral stance. But what we've seen here is that that's not what was going on. So somebody had to come in and actually sue the state and get something passed in legislation to say that, no, you cannot be doing this. You guys we couldn't trust you to be transparent, to be honest, to respect our rights to the things that we create in this data. So now we have to bring you to court on it and get it changed. You couldn't just step up and do this yourself.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, and I thought this was cool. The Supreme Court ruled, however, that people do not need to explain how they were hurt by not being provided data when they file a lawsuit. They need only show that the data was not provided. This is really important, because now it's like, I'm the king. You need to show me.
Prove to me you're worthy enough to get your data.
Are
you kidding me?
Did your daughter die?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that seems like that's legit. Who makes that decision?
That hits our threshold. Screw your threshold. Give me the data.
Minnesota State spokesman Doug Anderson wrote in a statement, this is for, we are disappointed that Minnesota Supreme Court overruled the courts below on our motion to dismiss the Minnesota government data practices claim. We look forward to making our case as litigation proceeds. So, the state is just saying nope. The Minnesota is saying, and I'm not just picking on Minnesota.
They're losing power.
Yes, there we go.
That's what it all boils down to.
It all boils down to that.
That statement is someone shriveling up.
The old thing.
That old regime is just being crippled.
So how do we, as a global consciousness in our ability as humans, how do we, through TARTLE, take our power back?
How do you take your power back? You say, this is my data.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bank it here at TARTLE, and I'm going to claim full control and responsibility of it. I'm not going to have a centralized authority do it for me. Nothing. This is my data for me to look at, for me to share, for me to earn on when I choose to do so. If I want to receive it, see it, read it, do whatever I want with it because it's mine, I should be able to do that.
I love that. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.